This book will fix your procrastination. Atomic Habits Explained. Part 1: Why you procrastinate and how this book can change that. Do you ever sit down to work and suddenly feel the need to check your phone, scroll endlessly, or clean your desk? For the third time today. You're not alone, you're not lazy. You're stuck in a habit loop one you didn't even know you created. Procrastination isn't a character flaw. It's not about time management either. It's about how your brain responds to cues, rewards, and cravings. And the book Atomic Habits by James Clear. It might be the most powerful tool you'll ever find to change that. In this video, you won't get a shallow book summary. You'll get the full science-backed breakdown of how tiny habit shifts can completely rewire your behavior, kill procrastination, and make you unstoppable. Whether you're a student, a creator, a professional, or just someone who wants to stop wasting time, the lessons in Atomic Habits are for you. Because once you understand how habits are formed, you'll stop asking, "Why can't I get things done?" and start asking, "What habit is running this behavior and how do I break it?" So sit tight. For the next 20 minutes, I'm going to walk you through everything Atomic Habits can teach us about breaking free from procrastination, and more importantly, how to act on it. Let's begin. Part 2: The core idea of Atomic Habits, why tiny changes matter. At its heart, Atomic Habits is built on a deceptively simple truth. You do not rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. Most of us think our success depends on our motivation or willpower. We try to fix procrastination by making bigger to-do lists, setting deadlines, or even punishing ourselves when we fail. But James Clear flips this approach on its head. He argues that what really drives long-term behavior isn't big goals, it's tiny, consistent systems. Let's break that down. Goals versus systems. Goals are results you want. I want to stop procrastinating. Systems are the processes that lead to those results. I write for 10 minutes every morning at 8 a.m. The problem: we chase the outcome without designing the system that makes it inevitable. Winners and losers have the same goals. What sets them apart are the systems they follow daily. If you don't have a system for doing the thing, you'll fall back on your existing habits. And for most people, that habit is procrastination. So how do you build a system? The book tells us that habits are the compound interest of self-improvement. Just as money multiplies through compound interest, the effects of your habits multiply as you repeat them. Reading one page a day doesn't seem like much. But do it for 365 days and you've read several books. Delay writing every day by just 15 minutes, and over a year you've wasted 91 hours. That's the atomic part, tiny changes. But like atoms, they form everything around you. Identity-based habits. Most people focus on what they want to achieve. Atomic Habit says, focus on who you want to become. Let's say you want to beat procrastination. Instead of saying, "I want to stop procrastinating," say, "I am the kind of person who takes action immediately." Every time you act in alignment with that identity, you cast a vote for the person you want to become. This mindset is powerful. You don't run, you're a runner. You don't just write, you're a writer. You don't just avoid delay, you are a person of action. Procrastinators try to force behavior. Successful people embody the identity behind the behavior. A true behavior change is identity change. James Clear. If you identify as someone who acts, you will act, even when you don't feel like it. And those tiny wins will compound into something unstoppable. Part 3: The Habit Loop. Cue, craving, response, reward. To change a habit or beat procrastination, you need to understand how a habit forms. According to Atomic Habits, every habit, good or bad, follows a four-step feedback loop. Cue the trigger that initiates the behavior. Craving the desire or motivation behind the behavior. Response, the actual behavior itself. Reward, the benefit you gain from doing the behaviors. Let's explore each one. 1. Cue, something tells you to act. A cue is any signal your brain recognizes as a reason to start a behavior. It could be external, a notification, a specific time of day, or internal, a feeling of stress, boredom, anxiety. Examples: seeing your phone screen light up, feeling anxious before a meeting, hearing your alarm in the mornings. These cues don't force you to act, but they create the opportunity for a habit to begin. How procrastination is triggered. You sit down to work. Your brain, craving relief from discomfort, scans for distractions. You see your phone, that's the cue. 2. Craving, you want to change your state. Cravings are the motivational force behind every habit. You don't crave the behavior, you crave the change in state it brings. You don't crave scrolling Instagram, you crave escape from stress. You don't crave coffee, you crave alertness. You don't crave watching YouTube, you crave entertainment or relief. In the procrastination loop, your brain craves dopamine, the feel-good chemical that rewards novelty and pleasure. So when work feels overwhelming, your brain craves a distraction to reduce that discomfort. That craving leads to the next step. 3. Response, you perform a behavior. This is the habit itself, the action you take. In our case, you check your phone. You open YouTube. You reorganize your desk. You grab a snack you didn't need. These are not just random actions. They are responses to your brain's craving for relief. And the more often you respond the same way, the stronger that pattern becomes. For reward, your brain feels better and remembers it. Rewards satisfy the craving, but more importantly, they teach your brain. Next time you feel like this, do that again. You avoid a task, feel relaxed, right arrow, your brain marks that as a win. You scroll, right arrow, get dopamine, right arrow, brain remembers the pleasure. You delay action, right arrow, feel momentary control, right arrow, brain reinforces escape. This is how procrastination becomes habitual. The relief feels like success, even though it delays what actually matters. The cycle repeats. Every time this loop completes, it gets stronger. It's like a groove in your brain that deepens with each repetition. But here's the good news. If a habit is learned, it can be relearned. To stop procrastinating, you need to break the loop or replace it with a better loop. And that's where Atomic Habits truly shines, by giving us the 4 laws of behavior change, which we'll now explore in depth. Part 4, the 4 laws of behavior change, reprogramming procrastination. James Clear's Atomic Habits introduces 4 simple yet powerful laws that help you change your habits by rewiring your brain's behavior loop. These laws don't rely on motivation or willpower. Instead, they reshape how you interact with your environment and your own thought patterns. Let's dive into how each law works, especially when it comes to defeating procrastination. The first law is make it obvious. The idea here is that habits begin with a cue, something that tells your brain it's time to act. Most of our bad habits, like procrastination, start unconsciously. You don't plan to scroll your phone or open YouTube, it just happens. That's because the trigger is hidden, you don't notice it. To stop procrastinating, you first need to recognize what's triggering it. What are the moments that always lead to distraction? Maybe it's when you sit at your desk. Maybe it's after you open your laptop. Maybe it's a feeling like stress or boredom. Once you recognize the cue, you can begin to reshape the environment around it. Want to write instead of scroll? Leave your phone in another room. Want to read instead of watch videos? Put a book on your pillow. The more obvious the right habit is, the more likely your brain is to choose it. And the more invisible the bad trigger becomes, the easier it is to ignore. The second law is make it attractive. This law is all about motivation. Your brain craves what feels rewarding. Unfortunately, procrastination usually feels good in the moment. It offers instant relief. Watching a video, grabbing a snack, or cleaning your room gives you quick dopamine. Productive habits, on the other hand, often feel boring or stressful at first. So the trick is to make those habits more enjoyable, to trick your brain into craving them. You can do this by pairing something you want with something you need. For example, let's say you enjoy listening to music. Pair that with doing your most boring task. Only allow yourself to listen while you're working. You can also use social accountability. Surround yourself with people who take action. When your identity shifts to someone who does things, someone who finishes what they start, your cravings begin to align with that identity. It becomes more attractive to do the work than to delay it. Over time, your brain starts to associate action with reward, not avoidance. The third law is make it easy. Most people procrastinate not because they're lazy, but because the task feels too big, too heavy, too hard to start. So instead of trying to be disciplined, reduce the friction. Don't tell yourself to write a chapter. Tell yourself to open the document and write one sentence. Don't commit to an hour of study. Just sit down and read one page. These small starts bypass resistance. Once you've started, momentum kicks in. It's like pushing a snowball. It's hard at first, but once it rolls, it gains power on its own. And here's another trick. Prepare your environment in advance. If you want to study, have your materials already laid out. If you want to exercise, have your clothes ready the night before. By making the right choice the easiest choice, you increase the chance of action. And each small action builds a stronger habit. The fourth law is make it satisfying. Your brain remembers what feels good. If a habit ends in a positive experience, your brain tags it as something to repeat. The problem is procrastination delivers instant satisfaction, while productive habits often don't feel rewarding right away. So you need to build in satisfaction at the end of your good habits. After writing, reward yourself with something small. After a study session, give yourself a break you enjoy. These rewards tell your brain, that was worth it, let's do it again. You can even track your progress visually, mark a calendar, check off a list. Celebrate tiny wins. These simple actions release dopamine, reinforcing the habit loop in your favor. And when procrastination tries to sneak in again, it won't feel as good, because now action is what feels right. Each of these four laws works together to rewire how your brain forms and maintains habits. When applied deliberately, they turn resistance into momentum. They help you notice your bad cues, they make action appealing, they lower the barrier to starting, and they reward you for showing up. This is how you stop procrastinating, not by being harder on yourself, but by designing a system that makes doing the right thing feel natural. Part 5, Turning Theory into Action, Applying Atomic Habits to Procrastination. Understanding the theory behind habits is powerful, but knowing isn't enough. What really changes your life is action, small, consistent, and intentional action. So in this part, we'll walk through how to take everything you've learned from atomic habits and use it to attack one of the most common problems we all face: procrastination. We'll turn the 4 laws into specific, real-world strategies you can apply today. Let's start with your environment. If your environment constantly tempts you to procrastinate, no amount of willpower will save you. That's why James Clear emphasizes this so often. Environment is the invisible hand that shapes behavior. So look around. What are the first things your eyes land on when you sit at your desk? If it's your phone, a game controller, or an open browser tab filled with distractions, you've already lost before you started. Your first job is to redesign your space so that action becomes easier than avoidance. Put your phone in another room. Use browser blockers that activate during your working hours. Lay out your to-do list the night before so you don't have to think in the morning. If you're writing, have your document open and ready to go when you start your computer. Don't just hope you'll do the right thing. Set yourself up so that doing the right thing is the path of least resistance. Next, let's talk about identity. If you believe you are a procrastinator, you'll always act like one, even if you try not to. But if you start believing that you're a person who takes action, who shows up, who finishes things, you'll begin acting like it, even on the days you don't feel motivated. So how do you shift your identity? By casting votes for the kind of person you want to become. Every time you sit down and do just 5 minutes of meaningful work, you cast a vote for being a productive person. You may think 5 minutes isn't enough to matter, but it's not about the size, it's about the direction. 5 minutes of focused action is infinitely more powerful than an hour of guilt-ridden avoidance. Keep voting for the identity you want to embody. That's how change sticks. Another key is to reduce friction. Procrastination thrives in complexity. The more decisions you have to make before starting, the more likely you are to delay. So simplify. If you want to start reading more, don't decide what to read every day. Choose one book and keep it by your bed. If you want to work out in the morning, don't rely on feeling like it. Lay out your clothes the night before. Have your water bottle ready. Automate everything you can. Make the first 2 minutes of your habit so easy that it feels silly not to do it. This is called the 2-minute rule. Start with something small. Open the document, write one sentence. That's it. From there, momentum takes over. And even if it doesn't, you still showed up. You kept your streak. You acted in alignment with your identity. That's a win. Now let's add rewards. One reason people procrastinate is that the result of hard work is delayed. You don't feel proud immediately after studying or exercising, but you do feel good the moment you check social media or eat a cookie. Your brain is wired for instant feedback, so you have to bring satisfaction closer to your good habits. Well, here's how. Use habit trackers. Check off days on a calendar to see your progress visually. Set small goals and celebrate them. Give yourself a tiny reward after each session, like a coffee, a walk, or a favorite song. Reflect at the end of the day on what you completed. Let that feeling of pride sink in. Don't wait for the final result to feel good. Create small wins that reward the process. When doing the right thing starts to feel satisfying, your brain learns to want it again. And finally, you need resilience. There will be days you fail, days you slip, days you procrastinate again. That doesn't mean the habit is broken, it means you're human. Well, the key is this: never miss twice. If you miss a workout, don't beat yourself up, just don't miss the next one. If you waste a morning, reclaim the afternoons. Success isn't about being perfect, it's about consistency. It's about returning to the path again and again until the path becomes who you are. So to summarize this section in action, design your environment for success. Build an identity around being someone who takes action. Start small, really small. Make it satisfying. And never miss twice. This is how Atomic Habits helps you beat procrastination, not with hacks or discipline, but with structure, intention, and the belief that tiny changes create massive outcomes over time. Part 6, Real Stories of Habit Transformation, How Tiny Changes Created Massive Impact. Theory is powerful, strategy is helpful. But nothing convinces the human brain like a real story. That's why Atomic Habits doesn't just share science, it shares stories. James Clear weaves examples from elite athletes, CEOs, artists, and ordinary people who used small, intentional changes to transform their lives. Let's explore how habit change looks in real life, and how these stories can help you defeat procrastination once and for all. Story 1, The British Cycling Team, Marginal Gains and Total Domination. For almost 100 years, British cyclists were largely irrelevant on the world stage. They hadn't won a single Tour de France, no Olympic golds. Bike manufacturers didn't even want them using their products, afraid it would hurt the brand. Then came Dave Brailsford. He had one radical philosophy: improve everything by 1%. Not by making one big change, but by finding tiny ways to get better at everything. They improved bike seats for comfort. They adjusted tire pressure for grip. They painted the truck white to better spot dust that might affect performance. They even taught riders how to wash their hands to avoid sickness. These weren't major breakthroughs, but together they created a compounding effect. Within 5 years, British cycling dominated the Olympics. They won multiple Tour de France. They went from forgotten to unstoppable. What it teaches us is procrastination isn't beaten by one giant act of willpower. It's beaten by small, intentional improvements, repeated daily. Story 2, An overweight man who lost 100 pounds without a diet plan. James shares the story of a man who lost over 100 pounds, not by following a strict diet, but by following one rule. Never miss twice. Every time he skipped the gym, he made sure to go the next day. Every time he ate something unhealthy, he made sure his next meal was balanced. No guilt, no punishment, just consistency. Over time, the habit became who he was, a person who keeps going. He didn't count macros or punish himself for mistakes. He simply stuck to small habits: walk more, eat slightly better, keep moving forward. What it teaches us is perfection isn't the goal, continuity is. Story 3, A writer who never waits for inspiration. There's a story about a writer who gets up at 5 a.m. every day and writes exactly 500 words before breakfast. Not because he's inspired, but because he made it a rule: writers write. No matter how good or bad those 500 words are, he writes them. He doesn't check email, he doesn't scroll, he doesn't wait to feel like it. Over years, this tiny discipline produced multiple books, not because he had big ideas, but because he showed up. What it teaches us is creative work doesn't come from waiting for motivation. It comes from creating a system that makes showing up automatic. Story 4, The One Push-Up Man. One man wanted to start working out but couldn't stick to a routine, so he made a ridiculous rule. I will do one push-up per day. Just one. He figured that one push-up was better than none, and it was so small that he couldn't say no. But here's what happened. Most days once he was on the floor, he'd do 2, then 5, sometimes 10. Some days just 1, but he never missed. That one push-up turned into a full workout habit, and eventually a fit lifestyle. What it teaches us is Small habits are the gateway to big changes. Lower the bar so low that you can't fail, and then rise with momentum. Story 5, a student who beat procrastination with environment design. A university student constantly delayed studying until she tried a new strategy. She kept her phone in the kitchen, not her bedroom. She created a study-only space at her desk. No snacks, no Netflix, no clutter. She printed out her class schedule and checked off every study session. Over time, she trained her brain. When I sit here, I work. Her grades improved. She studied less but with more focus. She didn't become superhuman. She just made studying easier than procrastinating. What it teaches us is environment shapes behavior. Design your space to make the right action the default one. These stories aren't magical. They're not built on motivation or inspiration. They're built on small systems, repeated consistently. This is the true message of atomic habits. Tiny changes are not trivial. They are the foundation of transformation. Procrastination thrives in the absence of systems. But when you build systems, even simple ones, you take back control. Part 7, the final takeaway, 10 lessons that will reshape your life. You've made it this far. That already says something powerful about you. You don't just want to know more, you want to be more. You want to stop procrastinating, not for the sake of being productive, but to start becoming the person you know you're capable of becoming. So let's finish strong. Here are 10 powerful lessons from Atomic Habits, not just to remember, but to live by. 1. Tiny changes led to big results. You don't need a massive overhaul, you just need a small shift done every day. 1 minute of writing, 1 sentence of reading, 1 push-up. These don't seem like much, but repeated over time, they create exponential change. 2. Your identity drives your habits. If you keep telling yourself, I'm lazy or I always procrastinate, your brain will work to prove it true. But if you start saying, I'm someone who shows up, even when you fail, you're still becoming that person. Act in alignment with the identity you want, not once, but consistently. 3. Success is the product of systems, not goals. Goals are important, but they don't build habits. Your daily systems do. If your goal is to write a book, your system is to write 300 words each morning. Focus on the system, and the goal will take care of itself. 4. Design beats discipline. Don't try to rely on willpower. Design your environment so that the right choice is the easiest one. Remove distractions, add friction to bad habits. Make good habits obvious, attractive, and simple. 5. Motivation comes after action. Most people wait until they feel motivated, but motivation is unreliable. Instead, act first, start small, let action create momentum. Once you begin, motivation will follow. 6. You don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. This quote from the book says it all. If you build a weak system, even your strongest intentions will collapse. But if you build a solid system, even your weakest moments will carry you forward. 7. You are the result of your repeated behaviors. Every action you take is a vote for the type of person you want to become. Not every vote has to win, but the more you cast in the right direction, the clearer your identity becomes. 8. Never miss twice. Failure is okay, skipping once is human. But missing twice creates a new habit. If you fall off, get back on immediately. Consistency beats perfection every time. 9. Make the reward immediate. The brain loves quick feedback. So give yourself small wins, Track your habits, check off your days, reward yourself even for small progress. Satisfaction now creates motivation for later. 10. Be patient. Progress is a long game. Habits are like planting seeds. You water them, care for them, and trust they'll grow even before you see results. Don't quit after a week, keep showing up. Your results will catch up to your efforts. Final words. You don't need more times. You don't need to work harder. You don't even need to be more disciplined. You just need to build better habits. Because once your habits change, everything changes. Your productivity, your focus, your self-respect, your life. Atomic Habits isn't just a book, it's a blueprint. So now you hold the blueprint in your mind. What you do with it next is up to you. But remember, every action you take is a vote for the kind of person you want to become. Cast your next vote today. Start small and never stop.